Watch this.
Are you here? Are you all there? All right, let's see how
there?
far this goes. Oh my god!
One update and a 6-hour stream later, and we have tested every major change to the subclasses. While normally this would be as easy as looking at each class's aspects and fragments to see what they have, there have been quite a few subtle changes that you may not have noticed that significantly impact gameplay. Let's start off with Amplified. Every 2 kills you get with an arc weapon or ability grants you Amplified. You do not need a fragment or an aspect in order to do this. When you are Amplified, you have improved sprint and movement speed, which will persist after the amplification buff has lasted, which is about 15 seconds, if you continue to sprint for after the duration has ended. During the sprint speed bonus, you also get increased slide distance and general in the air movement. It is quite noticeable. And while you have the amplified buff, you also get improved reload and handling speeds. Fragments, we've got the Spark of Beacons. This is brand new. Arc weapons blind when you are amped. This is really nice for ad clear as well as just general crowd control. Resistance, the Spark of Resistance is brand new. Being surrounded by targets grants what is effectively the new Resist X4 in PvP. This is a 10% damage reduction. This aspect right here is insanely strong if you're going for a melee based build. Definitely pick this one up or give this one a try. Momentum, Spark of Momentum. This is just Inertia Override. It gives you a 10% increase to your melee ability when you slide over an ammo brick, and it also reloads your weapons. It's just Inertia Override minus the damage bonus. Shock, Spark of Shock. This is Arc Web, or at least like the closest thing we can get to Arc Web. Arc Web's actually gone. We'll talk about that in just a bit here. But this will cause your grenades to jolt targets. Now, jolting is a little bit interesting as it requires additional damage from an arc weapon to actually trigger it. And once you do, it's sort of like an AoE. We are getting damage numbers from 37 to 51, which makes me think that it's like sort of like an explosion rather than it being just an arc web where it just straight deals damage if you're within that range. Spark of Frequency is Lightning Weave. If you melee a target, then you'll have increased reload speed and handling for a short duration, about 5 seconds. Spark of Focus is Focused Breathing. It increases your class ability regen as you sprint. Spark of Recharge is Combat Meditation. When you're critically wounded, your grenades and your melees will recharge significantly faster. And Spark of Voltage is hard to test. As you get kills, you'll get a Ionic Trace. Ionic Traces are exactly the same. They give you a small bump in your overall abilities. Spark of Magnitude. This is literally just Magnitude from Top Tree Titan, Top Tree Arc Titan. It roughly doubles the duration of the grenade and now does not increase the flash duration, but it does increase Storm Grenade now. It makes it last a little bit longer. We'll talk about some of the specific grenades here in just a bit. With the basics out of the way, let's talk about Warlocks. Warlocks, you guys lost Arc Web. This is honestly a huge hurt, I know. The closest we can get is the Spark of Magnitude plus the Spark of Shock. It's kind of something everybody can do now, and it's not nearly as deadly. There's much better ways to do it on the Titan, which we will discuss. Pulse Wave is also gone. Transcendent is now also gone. Hopefully that's not too much of a hit because you now have Lightning Surge. This is a slide melee and it has about 20-ish meters worth of range. It'll deal roughly 100 damage to 120 damage to a single target in an AoE around you. But if you do it to multiple targets, you're going to kill them. And it's going to be very, very flashy. This melee is great. It's fantastic both in PvP and PvP. I've been playing it in both. This is a lot of fun to use. Maybe try this out with the Claws of Ahamkara for double melees. Ball Lightning is mostly unchanged. The base damage is exactly the same, except when you are amped, the melee will almost kill a target, like just shy. We're talking like 185 damage this thing deals within a small delay. It is very, very powerful, but everything else is exactly the same. It'll deal damage to targets below it. It'll deal damage on the initial impact if you hit them directly. Everything's the same. Chain Melee is completely unchanged, except for when it's amped, you'll now deal more damage to nearby targets. About from 150 to the initial target to 40 damage to the secondary target from the jolting, so this feels like an overall nerf. Not a big fan of this one. Arc Souls have been changed. They fire significantly slower, by about 10%. When you're amped, these deal 5 damage, but they fire a lot more frequently in a 5 burst. But like I said, there's that less damage in there, but these are a lot more aggressive. Getaway Artist also has been changed to where whenever you consume your grenade, not only do you get an arc soul, but you also get amped. What's that's interesting about this is that technically the arc soul that you get from the Getaway Artist is not a normal arc soul, it's still a sentient arc soul, meaning it's still like an amped up version of the arc soul even after your amped buff goes away. Arc Bolt grenades no longer deal as much damage from 106 to 86, and they have their base cooldown go from 105 seconds to 121 seconds. This is a straight nerf. Arc bolts feel not nearly as strong as they used to, but that's probably okay. They were arguably the best grenades individually without any buffs in the game. They're really good. Storm grenades are now significantly weaker, from 170 damage down to 120 total damage. They're a lot more consistent now in their AoE. They also have an increase in their cooldown from 91 seconds to 105 seconds. Pulse grenades mostly unchanged, but they also have a longer cooldown from 105 seconds to 121 seconds. Stormcaller is mostly unchanged, except the landfall behavior and the ionic blink behavior is now just a part of the super in general. And to compensate that, Bungie said that they reduced the damage of the landfall from 250 to 150. However, this seems to be bugged because I'm currently double damaging targets and I've done it consistently for 300 damage, 150 twice, but I'm sure that's probably likely to change. Basically, this is no longer a hybrid shutdown and roaming super, but it is still quite a good super. And also this has more PvE damage, and the Kamehameha is completely unchanged. Hunters, you're up next. You lost Ebb and Flow, but there's a lot of stuff that works pretty similarly to it, so don't be too sad. Also, you got Blink, and Blink, by the way, is so much better. Default Blink behavior is so much better. As a Blink main myself for 7 years, I can tell you right now that Blink actually feels like a good movement option right now. You still lose your radar when you do the Blink, but you move a lot farther and you just generally get your blinks back a little bit faster. You also can tell when you're out of blinks, you'll get a little bit of an audio cue for it. It is great. Tempest Strike, the slide uppercut melee, is now an aspect. It does 111 damage down from the 130. It has a faster cooldown, technically speaking, because this is just something that just binds to your other melees as an aspect, and it jolts targets. It does not, this is important, this does not inherit your melee's other stuff. So if you use the disorientating blows, which now blinds and amplifies, it doesn't give that to the Tempest Strike. This is just normal Tempest Strike, sans the little bit of the damage. Combination blows are now a little bit slower on the cooldown from 15 seconds to 40 seconds, but it does not recharge dodges by default, so that's all right. Lethal Current's pretty similar, adds a new couple little things here and there that makes it nice. The increase in melee range from 5.5 meters to 7 meters is unchanged. It now jolts targets whenever you have it. This is after you dodge, and if you jolt and then melee a target, it will blind them. The AoE is about 45 damage. Again, jolting is kind of weird right now, but it seems to be within the 40 to 50 damage range. It does not work with glaives, by the way. If you're curious, we tried testing this. It does not increase your glaives melee range, which is big sad, but that's glaives. Arc Staff is now mostly unchanged, but now we have Reflect, which is nice. All the other combos still work. I don't expect this to see any major changes. However, Lethal Current might make this a much better shutdown super in general. It's also worth noting that I did not test whether or not the Whirlwind Guard will triple the damage of your next strike after blocking. It's not something that I saw in the patch notes, but it's worth something you can test on your own. We also have a new super now with Hunters. You have the Gathering Storm, which basically throws your Arc Staff like a javelin. It's enough to kill a normal Guardian. However, it seems like this is not enough to kill a roaming super, as it deals 150 damage plus a 40-ish damage jolt following it, and this will continue to shock targets who are inside of it if they happen to be close to it. This seems to be like a similar idea to like the Silence and Squall or Vortex, where it has an initial bit of damage and then just kind of like keeps people off of an area for a while. Skip is now takes a little bit longer to charge up, from 105 seconds to 121 seconds. Everything else about Hunter specific grenades is unchanged. You can still one-shot people with sticky grenades. Titans, you guys absolutely got the biggest changes. So much amazing stuff. And when I called in the previous videos that Titans were going to be meta, I think I might have been right. So first of all, you lost Frontal Assault, Aftershocks, and Trample, but don't worry, there's a lot of new stuff. Namely, Thunderclap. This is a new melee that charges up, sort of like a, I don't even know what you want to call it, like a smash attack in Super Smash Brothers. It's a granular charge up, so if you press and hold it, you can let it go earlier to deal slightly less damage. At max charge, this will one-shot, dealing well over 200 damage. It has 16 meters worth of range with a 4-meter AoE, sort of like a cone. This thing is incredibly deadly, and it's steerable. You can actually kind of turn a little bit. It doesn't allow you to turn a full 180 degrees, and at least on controller, it does slow down how quickly you can turn, but it's something worth noting. This is going to be a fantastic melee. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see some spicy clips of this thing. Ballistic Slam, lost inertia override, and it's mostly unchanged, still 130 damage. Shoulder Charge, completely unchanged. Blinds targets now, which is technically a debuff term, so maybe you can do something with it, but other than that, completely unchanged. Touch of Thunder is a new aspect you guys got. With this aspect equipped, you now are able to get more damage out of your pulse grenades, which slowly builds over time. This is stackable with the magnitude spark, the fragment, but it's pretty linear. So basically, like after the fourth pulse of your pulse grenade, it's going to hit max damage. It's going to keep doing it, and it'll grant you arc souls for every hit, give or take that the target is inside after they're reached that max damage. Flashbang Grenade now acts like a flashbang grenade, where as soon as it hits the ground with the Touch of Thunder, it will flash the target and it'll then explode after, which is kind of cool. Lightning Grenade now deals less damage from 160 to 120. With the Touch of Thunder, you get 2 of them, so again, kind of nice, similar to Top Tree Striker before this was all changed. Storm Grenades are now apparently an integral part of the Titans kit, which is a little bit confusing for me. This definitely feels more like a Warlock thing, but Storm Grenades will now follow a target if they've got the Touch of Thunder equipped, and it's capable of killing. It's a lot of damage. It's quite good as a crowd control tool and good just general damage. It's something worth keeping in mind. I think this might be the strongest overall individual grenade. Fist of Havoc, you now just have terminal velocity by default, which means the further you are up in the air, the more damage your slam will deal. The slam cost is now normalized at 8%. Same thing goes with the range of the AoE of this thing. It's 7 meters now. And don't be too sad if you're thinking, man, some of my stuff got nerfed, because there is a massive glitch. I guarantee you it is a glitch. I really hope it doesn't get patched, because it is some of the coolest things I have seen. If you combo a Ballistic Slam while you are still in the air, while popping your super, you will frickin' fly. You will travel 60 to 70 meters, depending on your timing, with this. It is a lot of fun. Please, go try this for yourself just to enjoy it before Bungie patches it, because holy shit. Next up, you have a new class ability, Thrusters. Now, my initial thought about this is that it's kind of like just a slower dodge that doesn't reload your weapons, but it appears that this actually might be really, really good for closing the gap and generally just being aggressive, because it does not take you out of your handling, like how Blink or like a dodge does, where you have to like re-equip your weapon. You will stay ready with your weapon while you are dodging, and it can be really good for just staying in the fight. It is about 8 meters of your overall movement. It takes 30 seconds to come back, like mentioned. It is in first person, so a little less disorientate, and we haven't found a way yet to Twilight Garrison skate. Yet. Last up, Juggernauts. This is a new aspect which is ridiculously strong. This is a separate shield that appears in front of you after sprinting for about 1.5 seconds. This shield has 50 health total, and it will cost your class ability if it is broken. Like I said, because this is a separate shield, it will protect you from all incoming damage if it is in one burst. Yes, even including a sleeper simulant. This does not mean that you're not going to be able to take AoE or piercing damage from something like a Wish Ender. We tested with Arbalest that Arbalest doesn't pierce it, just so you're curious. And something like a fusion rifle will damage you through it, and you can be punched through it. But again, this is an incredibly strong shield, and if you're amped, it will reduce the incoming damage that this shield takes by 33%. This thing is nuts. Get on this. Knockout is now just an aspect. It increases your melee's damage after you break a shield from about 100 to 150. And if you can get a kill with a melee, you'll become amplified and increase your damage like mentioned. And if you get a kill, it'll give you the regen and now lasts 6 seconds. It's not something that just immediately procs and goes away shortly after. It's something that you have to reproc after that 6 seconds, but lasts until then. I hope you ended up enjoying this stuff. It spent a lot of time getting all this footage together for you, so I would greatly appreciate it if you liked and subscribe. I'm gonna go play some more Destiny. Bless your faces and deuces.